Yes. So the next topic of today's session is the current to voltage converter. So a current to voltage converter will produce a voltage proportional to the given current. This circuit is required if you are measuring the measuring instrument is capable only of measuring the voltages and you need to measure the output current. If your instrument or the data acquisition module, that is DAC, fine, so has the input impedance that is several orders larger than the converting resistor, then a simple resistor circuit can be used to do the conversion there. So however, if the input impedance of the instrument is low compared to that of the converting resistor, then the following op-amp circuit should be used, that is the current to voltage converter circuit. So this is also called as the trans impedance amplifier. So you can see in the figure the voltage gain of the amplifier is represented by A and is given by RF divided by R1, where RF is the feedback resistance which we have. So whenever we solve this, we'll get V out is equal to minus V in divided by R1 into RF there. So you can see in the figure 2, so the voltage gain of the amplifier which has been represented there, and the current which is given to the circuit in the figure 1 is converted into the voltage in the figure 2. In the same way, we'll be converting the voltage to current, and we have the circuit for that also. A voltage to current converter or V to I converter is an electronic circuit that takes the current as the input and produces the voltage as the output there. An op-amp based voltage to current converter produces an output current when the voltage is applied to its non-inverting terminal. So you can see that I am applying the input for the non-inverting terminal. The circuit diagram is shown in the figure in the right side. So in the circuit which is shown there, the input voltage Vn is applied at the non-inverting input terminal of the op-amp. According to the virtual short concept, the voltage at the inverting input terminal of the op amp will be equal to the voltage at its non-inverting input terminal. Fine. So I'll just apply the KVL at the input side, which becomes Vn minus I out into R1, which will be equal to 0. So I'll calculate the value of Vn and I out from those equations. So next topic which we have is the multivibrators. So basically the multivibrators are the sequential logic circuits that operate continuously between two distinct states, that is high and low. Generally a multivibrator is an electronic circuit. Fine. It generates a square or it will generate a rectangular pulse waveforms there. It is also called as a non-linear oscillator or a function generator. Basically, we'll be having three types of multivibrators. That is, one is astable multivibrator, in which the circuit is not stable in either state. That is, it will be continuously oscillating from one state to another. Fine. That is why it is called as the astable multivibrator. The main application of astable multivibrator is in case of the oscillators. Next, we'll be having the monostable multivibrator. So, as the name indicates, it will be having only one stable state, but the other is not. Fine. One of the state will be stable, but the other state will not be in a stable format. So, that is why it is called as monostable multivibrator. The main application of this is in case of timers. And the third main important multivibrator is a bistable multivibrator. In case of bistable multivibrator, as the name indicates, the circuit is stable in both the states and will remain in either state indefinitely. Fine. I mean, the circuit can be flipped from one state to the other by an external event or a trigger. So, the application of this bistable multivibrator is in case of flip flops. Basically, in your syllabus, you designing the multivibrators by using 555 timer. Fine. So the 555 timer or NE 555, it has the same pin diagrams. Fine. Basically, the 555 timer is commonly used IC, which is designed to produce a variety of output waveforms with addition of an external RC network. The basic 555 timer gets its name from the fact that there are three internally connected 5 kilo ohm resistors which it uses to generate the two comparators reference voltage. Fine. So basically the pin 1, that is the ground pin, connects the 555 timer to the negative supply rail, that is 0 volts. Pin 2, that is the trigger pin, the negative input to the comparator number 1. A negative pulse on this pin sets the internal flip-flop when the voltage drops below 1 by 3 VCC, causing the output to switch from low to high state. Next, we have pin number 3, which is the output pin. It can drive any TTL circuit and is capable of sourcing or sinking up to 200 milliamps of current at an output voltage equal to approximately VCC minus 1.5 volt. So small speakers, LEDs or motors can be connected directly to the output there. Next, we'll be having fourth pin, that is the reset pin. So this pin is mainly used to reset the internal flip-flop controlling the state of the output. Pin 3. Fine. So this is an active low input. Reset is an active low input and is generally connected to the logic 1 level when not used to prevent any unwanted resetting of the output there. And we have a pin 5, that is the control voltage. So this pin controls the timing of 555 by overriding the 2 by 3 VCC level of the voltage divider network. By applying a voltage to this pin, the width of the output signal can be varied independently of the timing network. When not used, it is connected to the ground via the 10 nanofarad capacitor in order to eliminate the noise there. So pin 6 is the threshold. So the positive input to the comparator which we are using. So it is the positive input to the to one of the comparator in the circuit. So this pin is mainly used to reset the flip-flop when the voltage applied to it exceeds 2 by 3 VCC, causing the output to switch from high to low state. So basically this pin connects directly to the RC timing circuit. Next we have the pin 7. So pin 7 is basically the discharge pin which we have. This is connected directly to the collector of an internal NPN transistor which is used to discharge the timing capacitor to ground when the output at the pin 3 switches low. That's the main thing. Next we have last pin, that is pin 8. So pin 8 is basically the voltage supply which will give, that is plus VCC. So this is the power supply pin, and for general purpose 555 timers, it is in between the range of 4.5 volts and 515 volts. Basically, we'll be designing the astable multivibrator, the first type of multivibrator using 555 IC. Fine. So as we have discussed the pin diagram of 555 IC just now. So in case of 555 oscillator circuit, the pin 2 and pin 6 are connected together. Alright. If you can observe in the circuit, you can see that the pin 2 and the pin 6 are connected together, allowing the circuit to re-trigger itself on each and every cycle allowing it to operate as a free running oscillator. Fine. So that is the main important point. And during each cycle, the capacitor C, which you have, gets charged up through the both timing resistors R1 and R2. But this discharges itself only through the resistor R2, as the other side of R2 is connected to the discharge terminal, that is pin 7. Fine. Then the capacitor charges up to 2 by 3 VCC. If you can observe here, so the capacitor charges up to 2 by 3 VCC, the upper comparator limit, which is determined by 0.693. The equation for this, yes. So the equation for this is, that is the time taken for the capacitor to charge is given by T equals 0.693 into R1 plus R2 into C. The combination and the discharging time is given by 0.693 into R2 into C. That is, as I said, that the capacitor starts charging and it will be through R1 and R2, and the capacitor starts discharging through the resistance R2. And this results in an output waveform whose voltage level is approximately equal to VCC of minus 1.5 volts, and whose output on and off time periods are determined by the capacitor and the resistor combinations. So the individual time required to complete one charge and discharge cycle of the output is therefore given as T is equal to T charging plus T discharging. So that is the total time period which we have. You can see here. Fine. Yes. So when yes, so this is what we have shown here. Fine. Yes. Next type of multivibrator is the monostable multivibrator. So basically, when a negative pulse is applied to the trigger input, that is pin 2 of the monostable configured 555 timer oscillator, the internal comparator detects the input and sets the state of the flip-flop by changing the output from low state to high state. This action in turn off the discharge transistor which is connected to the pin 7 there. Thereby, by removing the short circuit across the external timing capacitor, which is 0.01 microfarad. This action allows the timing capacitor to start to charge up through the resistance R1 until the voltage across the capacitor reaches the threshold, that is, which is pin 6. Fine. Threshold voltage of 2 by 3 VCC. Alright. 2 by 3 VCC. At this point, the comparator output goes high and resets the flip-flop back to its original state, which in turn turns on the transistor and discharges the capacitor to the ground pin through the pin 7. Fine. So this causes the output to change its state back to its original stable value, that is low value, awaiting another trigger pulse to start the timing process over again. Then, as before, the monostable multivibrator has only one stable state. That is why we say that the monostable multivibrator has only one state. The monostable 555 timer circuit triggers on a negative going pulse, as I said before, applied to the pin 2, and this trigger pulse must be shorter than that of the output pulse width, allowing the time for the timing capacitor to charge and then discharge fully. Once triggered, the 555 monostable will remain in this high unstable output state until the time period set up by the R1 and C1 network which has been elapsed there. Fine. So the amount of time that the output voltage remains high or at a logic 1 level is given by the time constant equation there. Fine. So basically, what is the time required for the capacitor to charge and the capacitor to discharge is given by the equation there.